It's Chris Overstreet, the Redneck Gaijin, and we are going to be playing Kerbal Space Program on hard mode again. Oh, resume. I discovered something interesting. When you upgrade mission control to the final level, it says unlimited contracts. And I found out this is not true. You can only take a maximum of 14 contracts, and then they stop offering you new ones. What I've got here is a contract to expand the space station we have around Minmus. I've got the Explore Eve contract. The ship for that, all it has to do is fly by Eve, and we get basically 150,000 more Kerbucks. Map 9 asteroids endangering Kerbin with a space telescope. That mission is on its way to its designated orbit, and we'll get there shortly after the Eve probe gets where it's going. Plant flag on Minmus, we'll get around to that. Rescue Robald from orbit of Kerbin, we're going to do that tonight. Bring a newly discovered Class B asteroid into an orbit around Minmus, we're going to make that launch the first thing we do tonight. Build a new orbital station on a solar orbit. That's going to be part of our Duna mission. We're actually going to launch a manned mission to fly through the Duna system at least. Probably orbit and send down an unmanned probe. Extract ore from Minmus and deliver it to Kerbin. Extract ore from the moon and deliver it to Kerbin. We'll get back to what happened on Monday in just a moment. Position satellite in a specific orbit of Eve. Well, there is a satellite on the probe that we're sending down to Eve already, so we're going to hope that it has enough delta V to put the satellite where it needs to be. Position satellite in a specific orbit of Ike. That'll be part of the Duna mission. Recover part XNJ from orbit of Minmus. I'm going to do that off camera because that's going to be fairly simple, but I will scout out the part tonight and make sure that I know what I'm dealing with. The thing reads out as being 4 tons, so this is not a small thing at all. And I might have to adjust our usual retrieval package. 14 contracts all told, and I can't get any more until I complete some of these. For those of you who are watching this later, or for a random fast reader, or anybody who's shown up into stealthing, Monday we tried and failed to land the moon miner. This is more or less what it looked like without any of the radiators or solar panels extended. Except the retrieval ship, everything from here up, the first version of it would not dock. The engine bells here on this design, it turned out, were clipping just slightly into the platform, and as a result, the gap here would not close. So I redesigned it, and I made the return ship taller, and that made it damn near unflyable, and it made it top heavy to the point where it would not remain stable on any surface aside from a perfectly level one. We couldn't find a perfectly level one. It fell over, and things broke, and we now have a 900,000, well, 800,000 just for the ship. If you add in the other stuff that we've launched to make this thing achievable, we've spent over 1 million Kerbucks on the moon mining station. I'll repeat that, 1 million Kerbucks on the moon mining station, a contract which, incidentally, counting advance and final payoff, only brings us 500,000. So the obvious point of fail here is having this platform and having this land on top at all. It was a nice idea, but it counted on me being able to make precision landings. And as we saw Monday night, that was never going to happen even under the best of circumstances, because we overshot our landing zone by almost 13 kilometers. I know this because while we were off camera, I went in and EVA'd the 2 Kerbals that were stranded at our designated landing site and moved them over to the crashed moon base. They just barely made it. So basically everything else about this works reasonably well, except that the 2 engines up here with docking ports on them were getting refueling from the central stack. The engines back here, for whatever reason, were limited only to the fuel in this tank. They couldn't refuel through the docking ports. I'll have to fix that. But once we eliminate the top-heavy nature of this thing, get rid of the platform, get rid of the return ship, and just have this, and maybe replace the broad tank here with a smaller tank, everything will be fine. Here's the station again. And you'll notice I've got something with wheels on here. There it is. The idea is this thing has 4 Terrier engines underneath. This monoprop tank looks big, but it's mostly empty to save on weight. We only need monoprop really for docking when we deliver the stuff. Got big reaction wheel, probe core. There's no crew compartment of any kind in here, so no pilot, and it saves a little bit of weight in that department. The main drawbacks are that, well, I've got landing legs. It lands on the landing legs and then retracts the landing legs to let the wheels touch ground. But in order to make this happen at all, there's not a hell of a lot of ground clearance with this thing. So I absolutely have to land this thing pretty much right on top of the station and then roll it up so that it's one docking port the Clampetron regular can dock to. We could launch this, but I'm going to save this for Monday. And there are reasons for that. The biggest decision I had to make was whether or not I was going to bring the 5 Kerbals that I've got stranded on the surface back up and start from scratch. Now, right now, there's no usable lander around the moon. The lander that we've got at the moon has a docking collar. It has a decoupler collar around the docking port so that it can't dock with anything. I would have to send up a special adapter to make that workable, and in any case, even if I did, it only seats 3 Kerbals, and there's 5 stranded on the surface. So I went ahead and built something that would both leave a 7-person lander at the moon station and have a 7-person return capsule to bring whoever back to Kerbin. Nice ship, all things considered. Except this is the wrong one. Station Retrieval and Lander Replacement 2 is the one I'm looking for. There we go. This one has made a few changes. I reduced the amount of fuel on the return ship because we only need enough to break out of moon orbit. So here we are, 7 people in the return capsule, 7 people in this version. Well and good. Problem. This cost almost 200,000 Kerbucks to launch. And without contract, that would be 200,000 Kerbucks thrown away just to get to a point where we could restart the mission that we've already spent 1 million Kerbucks on and is only going to bring us back. We've already gotten an advance of 150,000. We're only going to get another 350,000 out of it. But I don't want to abandon the contract, and if we ever get this thing to succeed, we will have a refueling and mining station on the moon that can be used for future contracts, in theory. So I was thinking, I don't want to use this. What contracts can I take that'll make this pay? And that's where the Minmus Station 2 expansion popped up. All I have to do is get a couple of engineers on this thing and dock it with the Minmus Space Station, and it will get me the money for Minmus Space Station expansion, which is 150,000 Kerbucks, not quite enough to pay for this by itself. Combine that with the rescue of Robald, and we're good. So this is on the agenda for going to Minmus tonight. But it may not be on the agenda for the moon. Here's my thinking. Now, we're not going to look at the crashed moon miner station because it keeps spawning in over the ground, and every time it spawns in and crashes to the ground, something new breaks. There's only a limited number of times it's going to do that before something explosive breaks, and then we've probably got dead kerbals at one point. The map is now showing ore deposits. And as you see, there's Werner's Folly. That's where we were supposed to land. And here's where the ore delivery pod stack actually landed, which is actually closer to the center of this big ore deposit here. So it's actually not in a bad position. The only problem is it's not on level ground. But without the gigantic return ship on top of the stack, and without a secure base holding it in place, without that, it should be stable. But I am thinking it's more likely that we're going to launch the redesigned moon miner station to Minmus, because the Minmus mining station pays us twice as much. But there is a problem with that, because I've also checked on landing sites for mining ore on Minmus. Now, as you're well aware, Minmus has these nice frozen lakes, perfectly flat, absolutely delightful for landing on. None of them have ore deposits. Absolutely none. There's not even that many pieces of halfway flat land that have deposits. Pretty much any place we go that has ore deposits on Minmus is going to be on a slope. So yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more that I'm leaning towards having a redo of the moon miner station go to Minmus on Monday. What we're doing first is we're going to launch this Asteroid Retrieval ship, which is a modification of the Golden Retrieval design that I would put together to send down to low solar orbit to retrieve a part. This one has a similar amount of delta V and really needs a lot less. I've consolidated things so that there's no intermediate stage here. Once we get above the launch stage, it's going to be permanently on nuclear power, because this thing does not return to Kerbin. This stays in space. And I've included both Clampotron Juniors and Clampotron regular sizes on here, so that this thing can dock and refuel with things. And as it happens, I did find a Class B asteroid. I've got it tracked, and it is, well, if we wait any longer, it's going to be in a position where we can't get to it. It's just barely ahead of Kerbin, in orbit, just outside of Kerbin's orbit. So we need to go now, and we're probably going to have to burn a lot of delta V to get to it. The main drawback is we're relying on one nuke engine. There is no oxidizer. Now there is no oxidizer at all above the atmospheric stage. Yeah, one of the reasons why I am debating whether or not to wait on redoing the moon miner is the moon miner costs us 600,000 kerbucks per attempt, which means if I do it, I can only do it once, and it makes it damn difficult for us to do anything else until it pays off. So I am inclined to wait until we have some payoffs from the clear out some contracts here and see what we can do. And we're flying in 3, 2, 1, fire. We have an orbit, but our apoapsis is jumped just now to 181 kilometers, so we're going to need a circularization burn. That's it right there, asteroid CUF 572. And as it happens, it's on a Kerbal crossing trajectory as it is, so all we have to do is rendezvous with it, dock with it, and then just ride it on in. I mean, it makes the news every time an asteroid comes in between Earth and the Moon. Well, this is coming well inside Kerbin's moon's orbit. Done. Alright, that's close enough. Periapsis 181.4, apoapsis 182.781. Excellent. And now we start dinking with trajectories to get our best effort at an intercept. 88,000 kilometers is probably as good as I can do without getting into extreme expenditures of delta V. This is already over 1,100 meters per second of burn. We have it to spare, at least for the moment, but I want to be conservative with it. Then we'll make another adjustment once we get out of the Kerbal system. And we are pretty much have to burn now, because once we get on the atomic engine, it's going to be a slow burn process. And there's the atomic engine. Looks impressive, but it's slow as shit. Anyway, here we are outbound. And, yeah, Intersect is not happy with us. No, no. 1.3. With a relative speed, though, oh boy, 1,467 meters per second. That's gonna be a lot to recover from, but we should be able to get an encounter with that tonight. The contract says have the station supporting 22 Kerbals. I'm hoping it just means have the station capable of supporting 22 Kerbals, which this will be with all this stuff attached. I'm going to leave the stranded Kerbals on the moon for right now, and we're going to bring 5 of our lowest level Kerbals on this trip. Ed Pond, Orming, they get flights. Jesden, Hinmal, and Suvin. There we go. That leaves us an empty seat in the hitchhiker container here. At least I think it does. Anyway, it leaves us an empty seat with which we can pick up the guy that's stranded in orbit. We're flying in 3, 2, 1, fire. Even with the fairings and with struts holding together these two ships, the lander and the return ship, there's a hell of a shimmy as we turn down the ball just now. Now, I've turned down the ball just a little bit too aggressively, I think, but hopefully it won't be a problem. Okay, we have a lopsided orbit, so that's going to need correcting. But it is an orbit. Periapsis at 71 kilometers. This isn't going to be a docking, so all I need is a close enough approach for Robald here to get out of his pod and jet over to take our 7th seat. Part of the reason this ship costs 200,000 Kerbucks at launch is I'm hauling a lot of extra Delta V intentionally to eventually dock with the moon base and transfer it over as extra fuel for future landings. (1.5 kilometers at a relative speed of 58.5 meters per second, is workable. No, he's slightly ahead of us. Okay, Robald. Robald's a scientist. I don't care. That is your one hope of salvation, Robald. Get moving. Fly like your life depended on it, because guess what? It does. Robald, didn't your mama ever tell you not to stare at the sun? At least blink, man. Robald, you're creeping me out. Maybe they stuck you in that pod for a reason. I can't help thinking that maybe I'm making a horrible mistake. What am I unleashing on KERBAL by bringing you back? Nah, you're probably just a bungler like every other KERBAL. Well, don't worry, Robald. You'll be right at home with the rest of us. Gonna open the door for our friend here. There he is, by the way, if you couldn't tell. There. All right. And he's in. And we even get a halfway decent intercept opportunity there. Okay, but that is 6 days away in game time, and we've got more urgent business elsewhere. And we're about ready to burn. 2, 1, fire. And right now, I am taking a moment to try to set up the final intercept, which is going to require hitting the brakes pretty friggin' hard, apparently. 0.1 kilometers. That's a little bit too close, because we'll still be passing it at 206.5 meters per second, even with this burn. Okay, 2.6 is good enough. I need some time up close to make final intercept. All right. And that is roughly 1/4 of the fuel we have remaining in the ship. We're a little less than a quarter, but still a hell of a lot. And that's going to happen not quite 11 game days from now. So let's go back to tracking station. And I've left on the scanner, so we're looking straight at the ore deposits. Right. Got it. And just well, a little bit late, really. We should have been burning 15 seconds ago. And this thing is so slow to turn that I can't finish the burn properly. So 1.9 kilometer separation, because we're still a good bit off plane. Whoops. Okay. It was a little bit excessive, and doing more of the thing of monoprop again. No, pro grade this time. Pro grade. And hurry up about it. Okay. This fat bastard is really hard to steer. Okay, now back on retrograde. Monoprop, I've already used up 2/3 of what I have. That's more than I can really afford. Gonna have to leave it off for the rest of this. And I've just now noticed I never got rid of the nose cone, which means that needs to happen. Less than 800 meters from the station, approaching at 13.4 meters per second. The map shows a 0.0, basically a collision course, but the nav ball says we're slightly off trajectory. But the Minmus space station is a pretty big one now, so we want to be a bit careful with it. I can't pop the top right now. I'm decelerating. All I would do would be to ram the nose cone. All right, and now it's time to pop that. Right. Yeah, there's an open docking port here or here. Either one will do nicely. Okay, so we're going to drift very carefully around. There. That's the docking port I want, the higher up one. All right, RCS on. And we're nulled out. RCS off. And we bait the Kraken. We bait the Kraken a lot. But we get ourselves mostly turned. And there we go. There. All right, looking good. If the station outmasses our ship, it doesn't do so by very damn much. Okay, about to dock. RCS off. Smooth as silk. And we got the money for expanding the Minmus station. Excellent. Excellent. This is dinner. 2 really lousy sausages, barely seasoned above hot dog level in all honesty, wrapped in Butterball's turkey bacon, which is, well, you know about imitation bacon, right? Well, in terms of imitation bacon, Butterball turkey bacon is like that guy who shows up at conventions wearing 3 or 4 cardboard boxes hastily scrawled on in different colors of marker and a piece of paper taped to the front that says, "I am a giant robot." Yeah, I would call it failure made of fail, except that fail, the word fail, implies that somebody actually tried. But I bought it. I can't afford to throw it out, so it's got to get eaten one way or the other. Anyway, let's get back to the game. Here's the stack separator, and here we go, decouple. Tab over to the other ship. Yep, all the struts broke away. Docking port is free and clear. The only problem is we are horribly short of monoprop over here. So we pretty much have to get this right first time. Here comes the dock. RCS off. And we did it. We parked the same fat bastard of a ship not once, but twice. We just completed a contract to expand the Minmus space station, which we've temporarily done by adding a huge ship that we've just finished breaking in half. We've pulled excess fuel out of the space station into this to transfer to the moon station, which we'll do in a bit. Meanwhile, the Asteroid redirect mission is on its way to an intercept in about 10 or 12 game days, I think. And now I'm contemplating a Minmus landing. We are certainly going to do a flyby of the part that I have to send up something to bring it back with, probably off screen. Okay, let's see here. We did the Highlands, we did the Greater Flats, and we're not doing a landing on the slopes, so the only landing we've got left to do is the Lesser Flats. This is looking less like a space station and more like an interplanetary Sonic burger. I mean, all we need is a Kerbal on a rocket pack and roller skates carrying food out to these different ships. Ed Pond. Okay, Ed Pond is going to be the one that lands this time. I don't think Tandock wants to go down. Tough. You are assigned to this landing mission. You have no alternative. Okay. Review stored data. Okay, keep that one. All right. All the labs are as full of data as they're going to get. Now I need to go over to the resource satellite and pick out a landing zone, find the lesser flats to land in. Okay, here's more flats coming up, so to speak. Lesser flats. Set waypoint. And that is... That is a bit inconvenient. Let's go ahead and warp down a bit more. Let's try this one. Also lesser flats and much closer to the equator. That's good. Bill's Notch. Interesting. All right, we have a target if we want to go landing. Before we do any landing, we're going to rendezvous with the target that we have had a contract to bring the part back to Kerbin. I need to have a good look at that. Alright, there's the part. We're approaching it at just under 9 meters per second. A Rockomax Jumbo 64. Oof. And completely empty. That makes it some lighter anyway, but still, that is going to be a pain to get home. The sad thing is, after this is probably going to be the last bit of science mining we're going to be able to do at Minmus. Because after this, we'll only have one biome untouched, and that's the slopes. Which is, no. Which is very no. Incidentally, that rendezvous I just did, I'm not going to bring that part down tonight. I'm going to do that off camera because we've done part retrievals on camera before. You've seen it. Alright, and we want to land on the lake, so it's time to hit the brakes. There we go. Alright, switching to terrain radar. Not that there's much difference when you're landing on the frozen lakes of Minmus. 200 meters at 8 meters per second. Just barely have the engines past tick over. It still might be too much. All right. Here we go. Dropping it down nice and gently. Just kissing the surface of Minmus. There we go. Okay, sciencing everything. As you do. There we go. Surface sample. Suvin likes to show off moonwalking on Minmus. All right. Plant the flag. There's that contract cleared. Lesser flats at last. And screw these slopes because slopes. All right. Burning directly west on the 270 line. And 3, 2, 1, lift off. For just a moment. There we go. Collecting a little bit more science because we can. Oh, Edpond and Suvin are scared. That's unusual. Whoops. Okay, I cut off the engine. Do the engine noises scare you that much? Well, they've calmed down a bit, but they seem to still be a little bit concerned. Suvin, EVA. EVA report. Keep that. Take data. Reboard. Recycle that. Recycle. Okay, keep that. All right, that's enough for now. There they are, right on top of us. We've scouted a piece of space junk. We've landed on Minmus. We've taken some scans from various places. And now we're ready to bring it on home. Yeah, that solar panel is completely blocking off any approach to that docking port. So that's a no-go. Ed Pond is still only level 1. That means he just barely passed his driver's test. He only got off his learner's permit when he got up here to the station. This is probably going to be a bit on the wild and woolly side. RCS off. SAS off. We have a dock. Phil is going home. And Ed Pond is going to become the new on-station guy until he learns how to drive properly while he's up here. There we go. And what does that leave us? 1, 2, 3. No, cancel that. There we go. The only person I want left in this big ship now is Jeb, ideally. There. Transfer crew. Transfer crew. Transfer crew. Nobody on part. Transfer crew. Just Jeb. Okay. We have 7 Kerbals that are going to eventually get back down to Kerbin. Hooray for them. Meantime, though, it is time to disembark these guys. Undocking the big one first. And backing it away nice and gently. There we go. And Jebediah is going to hold things in place on SAS while the return ship undocks from the space station and redocks with this thing. And then we're going to figure out a way of sending it to the moon. There we go. Yeah, 1,183 meters per second. That is plenty. That is more than enough to get home from the moon. Really even a bit excessive. Wheel authority is on. RCS. Back away from the space station. Target the docking port. SES on, RCS off. Flip over. There we go. RCS back on. There we go. little bit closer. Just get her there. Come on. This does have solar panels, by the way. It's just inconvenient to extend them at the moment. Okay. RCS off, SAS off. There. Good. And we have a dock. Great. Let's have a look at the relative positions of Moon and Minmus at the moment. Not actually terrible. Moon encounter. 21 days, though. It's going to be a long trip down. Say goodbye again to the Minmus space station. Throttled up to full. And the calculator is completely buffaloed. And that is now no intercept. That's curious. Periapsis of 41 kilometers. That will do nicely, sir. And I'm going to set up a placeholder maneuver node here just to give us something to go by for when we come back to this. All right, back to tracking station, because it is now time to make the final burn towards our intercept of that asteroid. We are about to have a very long song come up, because when we get up to this burn, the burn time is 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Warping up to it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can catch their stuff at pollendstorm.com. They also occasionally release tracks at thethump.com. Right. Other way. Other. Antithesis of way. Come on. Okay, there's the asteroid. It's getting closer to us pretty rapidly now. Our intercept point, 2 hours and 37 minutes game time away. Gradually warping closer. Okay, we're 14 minutes away from closest approach and counting down. Our relative speed is going to be 200 meters per second, pretty much as it is now. Ah! We have the target bracket. And there's our target ahead of us. Nice. And at this point, it won't give us an intercept because in terms of solar orbits, we're right on top of each other already. So let's get closer. 8 kilometers. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 kilometers. Coming out of time warp to make another adjustment. All right, we're coming right up on it. 1.1 meters per second. Getting on prograde, and we're going to switch to monoprop once we're there. RCS on. Okay, we're dead on target at 1.1 meters per second. Time warping closer. Amazingly, I'm not actually wasting much monoprop with all the puff. I'm trying to keep this thing aimed as much as possible for the apparent center of mass. Here we... All right, here we go. This asteroid has not been disturbed and meets the contractor's requirements. Excellent. We performed a rendezvous maneuver around the sun. Money. We've started constructing the first station around the sun. Bullshit, but money. We performed a docking maneuver on the sun. On the sun. That would be a neat accomplishment. All right. Well, it gets us more money anyway. Okay, setting target. Shit. This is a heavy bastard. We only have 431 meters per second of delta V on this thing, according to that. So I've got no choice but to wait until this asteroid comes into its natural orbit, natural pass around Kerbin. Where a tiny burn will be enough to get an orbit around Kerbin, and then I can send a refueling mission up to get us more fuel. And that is what we're going to do, but that is 77 days away. So we're not going to get this done tonight. We're not going to get much of anything done tonight. But there are two other things I want to show you. If you tuned in on Monday night, and most of you did, in addition to all the major fail that we encountered in regards to the Moon Miner mission, we also left a bunch of stages in orbit around Kerbin with a lot of fuel still in them and with a docking port. And I said at the time that I was seriously considering putting together a rocket which would send up a probe and a giant empty fuel tank so I could drain the fuel out of those and take it where it would be necessary while it's already in orbit. Well, I've got that rocket ready to go. The Vampire Fuel Ferry. It's basically a stack with a giant empty fuel tank on it, a good bit of monoprop for maneuvers, a probe core, and a docking port. That's it. That's all we need. In theory, anyway. And yes, it has fins, because fins, as we all know, are very important. Anyway, we're flying in 3. No, we're not. I lie. Oh, I tell you what I did forget, though. I don't remember whether or not I've got either antennas or solar panels on this thing, and it needs both. I'm pretty sure I did, but I want to double check. Does it have solar panels? Yes. Does it have antennas? No. Okay, that needs to change. It doesn't need the really expensive ones. This is never getting any further than high Kerbal orbit. So we'll just put a couple of these on here, and that will be sufficient. I don't know about all of the stray fuel tanks. I'm going to go after all the stray fuel tanks whose fuel will fit in this ship. But I'm not going to dock with them tonight. All I'm doing is launching, and I'll do the docking and fetching off screen because that's not going to be interesting to you guys. That's just tidying things up. But launches are always fun if you're a space freak like I am. Although it would be nice if, or delivery pod stacked to debris. Well, that's convenient. There's one right there. All right. So we're launching right now. In 3, 2, 1, fire. And up, up, and away. This is going to be closer than I like. I might have slightly underbuilt this thing. Okay, this thing will make orbit on this stage, which is a good thing, because there is absolutely zero fuel in that big can. Okay, and we just passed apoapsis. Come on, burn quicker, damn it. Burn a lot quicker, damn it. Okay, I may have screwed the pooch here. We're at least going to brush atmosphere. Nope, we're just barely avoiding it. That was close. I went ahead and pumped a little fuel up into the final stage to save weight, gain delta V. And it's a good thing I did, too. Still haven't completed orbit. 550 meters per second of delta V left. Just a trickle of fuel in the tanks here. But we have an orbit. There. I wasn't intending to do this on screen, but this is being so easy that I may as well do it. Pretty high relative speed, but it's within what we've got left in the tank. And it's only a 0.1 kilometer separation, so that's all to the good. And as you can see, right now that I've got all the debris enabled, there's just a ton of debris up here. Of course, it's entirely possible that this is a piece of debris that doesn't have a docking port. But I won't know that until I get closer. Retrograde for target. thought I saw the damn thing. There it is. Closing in. Oh shit. What the hell? I have satellites in orbit. I have relay-capable antennas. And apparently they're all missing at just the right time. Somehow, we didn't break anything on our ship. All the RCS thrusters are here. The engine is still here and apparently in working condition. But all that fuel we were going to get, goodbye. Well, at least it'll be easy for me to spot stuff I can clean up out of orbit. Apparently, OBS shitting itself decided to spread to Kerbal Space Program. In case I didn't make it clear, what happened was I lost connection to the ground. The antennas didn't pick up any relay satellites, and so on final approach, the probe went out of control, and boom. Much boom. And I will fiddle fart with all these others over here on my own time. This has been Chris Overstreet, the Redneck Gaijin. Thanks very much for watching tonight. Hope to see you Saturday night, 7 p.m. for XCOM, or Monday night, 7 p.m. for more Kerbal Space Program, or preferably both. Thanks very much to my Patreon supporters and the Twitch subscribers. You're helping me pay the bills a little bit at a time in these trying times. Here's the cog. Good night.